the analogy actually falls apart, or the metaphor, because you actually do invite the homeless person into your home. That's what happens when you have sex. You invite the baby into your uterus.
All right.
So you could be pro-choice of whether or not you're going to have
You
sex.
got YouTube working.
It's not always a choice. Sometimes the condom can break.
Oh, no,
Sometimes
no.
it can
You don't
be
have
on.
to have sex. That's the point. Having sex is not a human need. Eating and showering is, but you can wait until you're married. You actually don't have to have sex.
Here's my counterpoint to that, though. If I'm driving a car, I'm taking the chance that there could be a kid if there's like a bike lane right next to me. And this actually happened recently close to my home, where there's someone on a Lime scooter on like a bike lane right next to me.
Right.
He fell off his Lime scooter and he got hit by a car and the kid died. That's really sad. It was a life that ended. But I didn't have to go to drive. I didn't have to drive my car. The person didn't have to drive in the car who hit the kid, but he took the risk. In the end, the law still doesn't punish the driver because it wasn't his fault. He did everything that he possibly could.
If you're just joining, we're taking a look at Charlie Kirk today. Be my first stream on YouTube and Twitch. I did a little gaming stream one night, but it didn't last very long. It was just kind of a test stream. But we're up and running today. We're going to remember Charlie Kirk. Why? Why are we doing Charlie Kirk today? Well, of course, because he was assassinated yesterday. But that's only a minor part of the reason. Charlie was a symbol, and his death should spur all of us to no longer stay silent. We are the new media. It is up to us to get on social media and have our voices be heard. We can't be scared. We not that I anyway will ever be as big as Charlie, but every voice counts. Conservative voices have to be heard. We cannot be afraid any longer. We have to. We just have to get out there. We have to show a good side of America. Leftists are trying to keep us from being heard, and we just can't let it happen. Not anymore. So we're looking at Charlie at Purdue University. Purdue University is 20 or 25 minutes from my home. Many people in my community either go to Purdue or have went to Purdue. I have friends that graduated from Purdue. And so I found it fascinating. These young people here are in my community, so it was especially interesting to me.
And he didn't have to drive.
You're equating having sex with driving, just to be clear.
My analogy is that it's my choice to drive a car or not, but I'm still taking the risk. But if someone...
Well, hold on, but if you're driving a car and you do run somebody over, you could be susceptible to manslaughter laws.
I could be susceptible to that, but if it's not my fault...
I'm going to make a coffee, and I will be right back. We'll just let this play.
Then I don't get a manslaughter law. And
okay,
what
so
happened in
that's
this case is that they didn't get a manslaughter
law.
law.
Then let's go further. At what point is something your fault?
It's very circumstantial.
No, but what is the intent threshold when something is your fault?
If you intentionally try to cause an action, then it's your fault. But
I agree.
for this
Like
driver, they did not intentionally do it.
So
There's
like
nothing
an
they could
abortion,
have done.
hold on, like an abortion, you intentionally cause a result.
I'm intentionally causing an abortion.
Yeah, you're
but it's my
intentionally
right to
causing
choose
an abortion, so with intent standard, you are eliminating a human life.
In the end, it's still the woman's choice to do it. She wants their home. I can do whatever I want in my home. If I want to kick a homeless person out of my home, even if I know that he's going to die in the street, I'm allowed to kick that homeless person out of my house, even though that means he'll die. And that's really sad that a human life will die. I agree with there's a human in the body. I agree with that. But a person will still die. It's still my choice. It's still legally my choice to kick a person out of home.
Let's play this out. Let's just
Okay.
Because your analogy sounds rational, but it's not. Can a mother of a 1-year-old kick her baby out of her house?
No.
Well,
She can she can set it up for adoption.
no, but why can't she just leave it on the side of the street? Isn't that a child abandonment law?
There's a gray area between setting someone to go up to an adoption center, which is a really easy thing to do, to just drop them off at a fire station, which you're allowed to set up someone for adoption.
No, but hold on. You said that you do not have to give care to someone who knocks on your door. That's your whole contention.
Legally correct. You don't.
Right. So, but if you have a 1-year-old baby,
You can either give them care or you can put them up for adoption. You have one of two choices.
But that's my stance when it comes to the baby in the womb. You
And
can
the baby
give
in
them
the womb
care,
is
or you
different.
could. How is it different? How is it a different?
It's physically taking over the woman's womb. It causes physical, emotional, mental damage to the woman when it's in the womb.
But how is that?
There's legal
how
risks.
how does that at all diminish or increase the value of the human life?
The human life's still important. I'm not saying that abortion is not tragic, but what I am saying is that the woman's right to choose what she does with her own body is also important. The right to self-autonomy is also
Got it.
important.
But doesn't the baby also have a right to self-autonomy?
I agree, and the person who's homeless and will die if I don't let him in the house also has the right to self-autonomy, but he doesn't have the right to
Well, hold
self-autonomy
on.
if it means that
Just
he's
so we are clear,
infringing on my own rights.
Your homeless example, again, further falls apart. If they knock on a hospital or a police station or a fire station, they are welcomed in. So there are places for homeless people to be able to get care. There's no place for an unborn child to get care if they walk
That's
into
a
an abortion
societal
clinic.
obligation, a government obligation, not an individual
for sure.
private
I-
obligation.
no, I agree. That's
An
why
individual
abortion-
person's body is their own private one.
I agree. That's why abortion should be illegal, because we have a societal obligation to
No.
protect every life.
It's a private person's womb.
This is what is so infuriating. Charlie was a defender of every life. He believed in, of course, self-defense. He believed in having the right to defend your family with firearms. But he also believed in defending the defenseless. Now, no matter which side of the abortion debate you're on, it is a defenseless life. And I'm torn. I'm torn on this subject because I have 3 daughters. I have a wife. It was never considered in my family, abortions. But I have daughters who are on the other side of the abortion debate from Charlie. Or I have one daughter, anyway, that's on the other side of the abortion debate from Charlie. And I want to be a defender of women's rights because I love my daughters. But I also think that every life is precious, that every baby deserves a chance at life. And there's always a debate about the quality of that life. If you can't afford to raise a child, does that give you a right to end that life? And my thought is, who's to say what quality of life that child would have? We all struggle. Many of us struggle financially. But that doesn't mean it's always that way. You never know what that life will end up being. But that's true for all of us. I never thought I would end up where I am. And I think a lot of people, they have expectations for their life, and it ends up being much different. But we would never know. We would never know. And who is it for us to judge that quality of life? Just a thought.
It's a private person's house. They're both private property, belong to the
So
individual person.
So you think the womb is private, like is
It is the woman's womb.
Got it. But
It
is
is
it
her
her
womb.
is it her DNA that's forming?
Half of her DNA.
This is what they hate Charlie for, among other things, but this is very much a primary driver of the hatred for Charlie Kirk.
And it
Well,
doesn't
no, no.
matter. If it's
Hold on.
a separate person with
No,
their own
time out.
unique DNA.
If it's not your DNA, why is it your choice?
Because it's living in my own house. If it's a random homeless person, I can still kick him out, even if it means that he will die.
Yeah, I just.
It's my choice to do that.
It's such an incredibly morally perverse argument to make. just
Moral
so
or
we are
not,
clear.
legally does not revolve around your morals.
Well, of course it does. I mean, laws are a reflection of morality. That's why we have murder laws, right?
There's a difference between kicking a homeless man out of your home and having him be responsible for his own survival and actively killing that homeless person because he was in your home.
That's why we say you can't steal.
You can't-
Every law is a reflection of some moral truth.
For stealing, it doesn't directly affect you. If I try to murder someone,
Of course, stealing affects me. Of course, it does.
you're stealing to directly affect someone else. You're not stealing because you have to steal. You're doing it because you're choosing to actively steal. For a baby going into a person's womb, the mom's not killing the baby because she wants to kill the baby. She's killing the baby because it's taking her own organs and causing the physical stress and
No, but
safety of her
again,
own body.
I need to get back to one contention, though. Do you believe in the generally that people should take responsibility for their own actions?
Yes.
Okay, so then.
But if it's not their fault, then
But,
no.
hold on, but by fault, they made a decision to have sex 99.9% of the time.
Just
And-
like,
But
well,
by doing
99% is rape, and even still, abortion
but-
laws. But
The-
99% is the opposite. Is the opposite. I
so
should have said that.
99% of the time, it's a form of birth control. So
Yeah, form of birth
essentially, you would agree that it being a form of birth control, basically, it's a oopsie. I'm just going to eliminate a human life because I have autonomy of my own body.
You're willingly taking the risk of that birth control potentially failing, but you're also doing that when you're driving a car. If I go to a mechanic and he checks that my brakes, if he checks that my brakes are okay,
That's such a
I'm
morally
still taking
contorted
the risk
analogy.
that my car can still work. I agree with the analogy.
No, in no way is that even close to the same.
You're taking the risk in both chances, and both can kill a person.
Wait,
So never drive.
wait. You're saying that having sex could potentially result in the death of a person?
You have the chance of getting pregnant, and if you don't want to
Yes,
get pregnant,
and then you have an obligation to allow that life to grow. Because universal human equality applies to all human beings, regardless of how small they are or where they are. Just because you're within within a womb. And to play out that analogy further, you say that, well, it's drawing from the mom's nutrients and it's changing her organs. Just so we are clear, the mom's nutrients continue when the baby's 6 months old. You ever heard of breastfeeding? The mom's organs continue to change after birth.
Yeah.
Can she then eliminate the 6-month-old saying, I don't want to feed that 6-month-old?
you can put it up for adoption. Yes.
Well, no, why can't she murder it?
Because at that point, she has a choice to save the baby. If you can save the baby, you can. And I'm saying
wait,
at
but you
viability.
could save the baby at 23 weeks.
I agree with you. I'm saying first trimester when the baby's not viable.
Okay,
outside of
so
the
now
womb.
we're
That's my
getting
argument.
somewhere,
That was-
but-
and I said that at the beginning of my open statement too.
But the viability standard is, very questionable. When does human development begin?
At conception, I agree it's a human person inside you, but the problem is that you're taking the woman's own part. And so, look, if the baby can come out of the woman and
If we're talking about viability changes as our ability medically to save that life increases. 50 years ago, viability was different than it is now. 100 years ago, even more different. And as we advance medically, technology, scientifically, we increase that ability to keep that child alive at a younger and younger age. So it becomes a question of, is that moral duty to save that life different just because of technology, just because of medical advancements? I mean, that's a question you have to ask yourself.
still be alive, then I agree abortion should not apply, and that should be an individual case of the doctor to determine that. But if it's taken directly from the woman, and the baby has to die in order for the baby to come out,
let me
then that's the
just let me
difference.
just conclude in this. Every baby will take from something else necessarily for the first 3 years. A baby will not hunt and gather, and a baby can't go get a job.
I agree.
So by definition, every baby, whether it's 6 months in the womb or 6 months outside of the womb, is dependent on an exterior force. So that moral threshold of viability actually does not continue out. It'd be one thing if a baby is born, all of a sudden the baby says, "Okay, let's get to work and let's go become a janitor." A child is actually highly dependent and only viable in the sense that it can breathe and clean its bladder. However, there are millions of baby born in NICU units across the country, neonatal intensive care units, that have all sorts of machines and contraptions that do and simulate the work of the gestational process. So I can understand your argument. I just think it's incredibly morally troubling to say that a woman has so much autonomy over her own body, therefore you are allowed to then eliminate, murder, or kill if it makes your life a little bit difficult.
We'll agree to disagree. There's one more point I want to make quickly,
Okay.
too, is that you compare abortion to the Holocaust a lot. Can you
It's
expand on
actually
that first?
worse than the Holocaust.
Explain why.
55 million babies have been killed since
Compared to how many in the Holocaust?
6 million. Yeah.
Okay, so would you say it's by ratio 55 to 6?
1 million babies aborted every year in America alone. I'm pretty sure that's the statistic. 1 million babies. I find it difficult to wrap my head around that. And as Charlie just said, 99% of that is out of convenience, not out of necessity, or not out of because of rape or incest or any of those types of things. It's a form of birth control. It's difficult to wrap your head around, and it's difficult to. I have a throat thing, and I'm sorry. It's difficult to listen to women talk about, let's say gun control and saving lives when they are aborting 1 million babies a year. The credibility is no longer there for them, in my opinion.
Times
No,
worth?
there's an evil that was in the Holocaust that is not quite manifested in the abortion industry.
I agree.
Which was the intentional extermination of a specific type of people.
I agree.
Now, part of the abortion industry also has a lot of anti-black eugenics philosophy as the basis from Margaret Sanger. But I would say there was this very specific, unique evil in the Holocaust that we've not seen replicated in many other times, which is that we want to eliminate a certain time of people. But by scale, it is far worse.
That's good. I've heard in a lot of debates you've said that the Holocaust is 8 times less as important as abortion because there's
No,
8
they're-
times less
they're
people have been
they're
murdered.
unique.
But my point is that they're unique circumstances.
They
This
are
kinda
unique.
looks like
Thank
a
you for your time.
fiction.
Appreciate it.
Let's-
Thanks.
let's-
All right, next disagreement can come on up.
How do you get out?
Looks cool. There's someone behind you. You do know that, right? Lodger, I swear. Why do people keep...
I fought so much misinformation out there.
Appreciate it. Charlie, I appreciate what you're doing very much in that you're bringing this spirit of debate to these campuses.
We're very much
some issues
flying by the
I
seat of our
have
pants
with,
here today. So
your rhetoric
there's going to be some
around,
hiccups.
Judaism and Israel and Zionism that I want to address here. It's my contention that the word anti-Semitism itself, and I'm sorry, but let me just back up to say, yes, I'm from a Jewish heritage, but I do believe in Jesus. So yeah, we're good that way.
Praise God, you're a messianic Jew then.
I don't necessarily call myself that, but if it's good for you, whatever, it's fine. I believe in Jesus. And so it concerns me that the word anti-Semitism is conflating issues of race, religion, nationality, and ethnicity. And those are four very distinct issues. And what happens is when they're conflated in a debate type environment where people are disagreeing about public policy issues or social issues, then it becomes virtually impossible to have clear communication about the issues. And so my disagreement with you, what I want to debate you on, or maybe you'll give up the word, is the utility of the word anti-Semitism. My contention is that it's causing confusion and that we're not being clear, we're being lazy with that word. So what is your...
You might be right. I prefer the term Jew hatred over anti-Semitism, but you didn't make much of a contention. You got to give more evidence or examples.
Well, Jew hatred is another version, in a sense, of the same thing, because if you have a word like Jew hatred, it's still not clear whether someone is Zionistic or not. It's not clear, whether it's an ethnic thing that they're uncomfortable with or a genetic thing that they're uncomfortable with. And
I've seen some conspiracy theories kind of floating around that Charlie may have been assassinated over his stance on Israel, but I don't know.
these are very distinct issues
Okay,
that
got
need
it.
to be talked about
So when someone
specifically.
says, for example, the Jews did 9/11, how would you categorize that statement?
Thank you for putting it that way, because I respect how this comes up in
No,
your...
because that actually came up the other day at a
Yeah,
campus
yeah,
event.
yeah, I
Someone
heard
says, the Jews did 9/11.
Right.
How would you categorize that statement?
Okay, I would categorize that statement as someone who's done some research on an issue and is making some overgeneralizations that create a lack of clarity in the conversation. So what happens is, the Jews did this, the Jews did that. We're really not talking about specific actors, how specific actors are organized, whether it really represents
When
the ethnic
someone
culture
says-
in some way. And so I'm just arguing for
Well, I
real
don't-
clarity.
We're not even arguing, but
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
want to be clear. If someone says we should kick Jews out of the country, is that anti-Semitic?
If someone says we should kick Jews out of the country,
Is that anti-Semitic?
to me, the word anti-Semitism is a useless word.
Got it. So, but what is it then? If someone
Okay.
says, let's kick the Jews out of the country.
Okay, so I want to know, does that person have a religious bigotry that they don't want people of different religions or the Jewish religion particularly in America? Or is this a racial thing that they're concerned about? Or is it a cultural ethnic thing? And this gets to the issue of like 9/11. Another way has to do with people bringing up how Jewish intellectuals have influenced culture through the academic institutions, through medicine. These are real issues that deserve attention and discussion, and I just don't feel like you're taking the time with people. Often students come up, they're just getting, up to speed on these issues, and they don't necessarily frame the question well,
Yeah, I don't
but there's
know. I mean,
real
like,
issues there to discuss.
I would agree with you. I'm very careful at using the term anti-Semitism or Jew hater. But if someone says we should kick the Jews out of the country, I do think that's anti-Semitic, Jew hatred. It's like I don't really need to hear more about where they're coming from.
Oh, I understand it's a problem for probably
Okay.
numerous
Yeah.
reasons. We're not disagreeing about that, but what we are perhaps disagreeing about is how to be effective in dealing with the problem. What I'm saying is if you just jump to the anti-Semitic word, then that person is not going to be
I
challenged
largely agree
specifically
with that.
on the issue. Okay, great.
Thank
Can
you
we
for your
go to
time.
one other thing?
I want to get to a student.
Hi, Charlie. My name's Jamie, and it is a pleasure to finally meet you. I'm a proud lifelong Republican, and my question is on the topic of free speech and expression. When talking about politics as a Republican, some liberals can be very close-minded and often resort to false ideologies and ignore reasoning and facts, then resorting to censorship, cancellation, and accusing Republicans of being fascist and prejudiced. Ironically, these same individuals are the same ones that advocate for the rights of free speech, free choice, and free expression. That is, until your opinions conflict with their own. What are your thoughts on this subject, and how can we facilitate these conversations in such a way that...
Wow. What a good question, considering what just happened to Charlie. We don't have, the last I checked, we don't have the assassin in custody, so we don't know who it is or what their ideology is, but we can pretty much guess. And wow, good question. I want to hear what Charlie has to say.
These individuals are receptive to our facts and message without subjecting ourselves to unnecessary blowback.
Yeah, I mean, look, what we are doing is the most anti-fascist thing one can do. Have an open mic on a college campus for 2 to 3 hours, and anyone who disagrees can go to the mic. You know who the fascists are? The ones that are screaming and threatening violence and threatening intimidation, harassment against the conservatives. So which side is fascistic?
Right.
So this
I mean, really, just considering that Charlie was just killed for doing this very thing, for talking on college campus, for allowing people to come to the mic and ask questions, to debate him, to challenge him. Charlie does the very thing that the left espouses. Free speech. Very much has an open mic here where people who disagree with him can come up and talk, and he can talk. They can exchange ideas. And he was killed for it.
This is the solution. I just hope that honest leftists will engage in it.
Yeah. So how do we prevent, personally, I'm sure we all have, everyone here who is in support of your message has experienced, for lack of better terms, name calling, being fascist, pig, racist, worse things that shouldn't be said in good taste.
You fight through it. Let me ask, how many of you guys think you're graded differently if you're an outspoken Trump supporter or conservative on campus? Almost every hand goes up. Yeah, that's too bad. But look, life is tough. You don't complain about it. You don't act like a victim. You use it as a blessing to make yourself a stronger, more capable citizen, regardless of what life throws at you.
So how can we engage in actual conversation with individuals who just go to their buzzwords before actually considering our reasoning and facts?
There's no easy answer to that. We're trying to demonstrate what that might look like, but again, they have to equally as much want to be involved in the conversation as you. So
Right.
Thank you for your time.
I appreciate your
it.
time.
Thank you. All right, any disagreements, guys, you can come on up. I see lots of hands. Why don't we make way for the disagreements? It's fine. Yeah, you can't come this way, but yeah, thank you.
Let's skip ahead.
Okay, that's
Hello,
Mike.
how are you?
Good. My name is Nick. I'm an aerospace engineering student here. Got a couple questions.
Awesome.
That's all right. So I'm particularly concerned about your brand of Christianity. As a Christian myself, Christian nationalism I do not agree with at all. I think it's antithetical to the values of the early church. And I think, how do you reconcile especially white Christians in this America marrying politics and power with their faith in this country?
Well, there's a lot there. I've never described myself as a Christian nationalist. So I'm a Christian and a nationalist, so I've never used those two
And
things.
then right there, that and nationalist, where in the scriptures does a Christian...
Well, thank you.
supposed
Jeremiah
to be-
29:7, demand the welfare of the nation that you are in, because your welfare is tied to your nation's welfare. Let me continue. Daniel fasted and prayed for his nation. Esther and Mordecai cared for their nation. They were counsel to the king.
Right.
Nehemiah, Jeremiah, Joseph, Jacob. I could keep on going. Moses, Aaron. In fact, Moses was so political that he wrote an entire book of the Torah all about how to set up a government. It's the book of Deuteronomy. So, in fact, the Bible is an explicitly political text amongst many other things.
Now, can we interpret those texts in the light of the revelation of Christ? Because you just cited all Old Testament texts, but you've not once cited St. Paul.
Okay, yeah. If you want me to also, by the way, just so we are
cite St. Paul about
just-
the kingdom of heaven and the
time out.
governance.
Just so we're clear, do you think that the New Testament is greater than the Old Testament?
It is. It is
Oh,
greater
whoa,
because
whoa,
the
whoa,
revelation
whoa.
of Christ dictates how we interpret
that-
the Old Testament.
So you think that all of a sudden, like Genesis 1 is not as great just because of the New Testament?
The Old Testament was a type and shadow of the things to come, and now we live in the full revelation of Christ.
Again, that
So
is,
it
that
is by
su-
definition
that is such
lesser.
a dangerous theological.
That's not true. That's Christological
Stop.
theology.
Hold on. Of course, I believe in the resurrection, but to all of
Okay.
a sudden say that, like, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, is like somehow in like lesser because of the revelation of the New Testament. Christ even said, I did not come to abolish the law of the prophets, I came to fulfill the law. In fact, he said all the laws of the prophet hang on the two teachings, Leviticus 19 and Deuteronomy 3 through 5. However, to use a New Testament example, as you asked, it says in 1 Timothy, pray for your leaders and authority by name that they
That's
might
great.
make
That's
righteous and great
wonderful.
decisions. I'm going to continue. Christ our Lord said, on this rock build my what?
Church.
Wrong. Ecclesia. It's not the word church.
Oh, the English translations of Common Bible say church. So my bad.
Well, actually, it shouldn't, because the original Greek term says, on this rock build my government structure. Ecclesia was a secular word used in that time, which was all about the advancement of freedom and liberty, which are the two words in Greek, eleutheria and isonomia, which are the two words there. So the point being, Christ called us to be salt and light. We as Christians should change the environment that we come in contact with.
I
That's
agree
what
with that.
salt and light do. So why should we then not care about changing government to be more Christ-like?
Well, you're conflating changing government to be more Christ-like with what I was discussing was nationalistic endeavors, which is the inherent view that our nation is better than other nations.
Well, it is.
Well, God shows no partiality. So
Well, no, that's not true. God says in Revelation, I will judge the nations. God says
the
that
nations means ethnicity groups.
Well,
Does that mean borders of countries established?
Not necessarily. Hold on.
It does.
God says the Constitution of Israel will come at the end of the age. Borders is biblical. The entire book of Nehemiah is about building a wall around the nation of Israel. In fact, the idea of borders, the idea of sovereignty, is an explicitly biblical idea.
Yes, but Israel is no longer defined by the physical borders. It's actually defined in the
Again,
spiritual sons and daughters of God who
that's
believe
a
in
Catholic
Jesus.
interpretation.
That's not just Catholic.
Again, it's primarily a Catholic interpretation. I don't share it. I don't want to get into that theological
Okay,
debate.
okay.
Because we're going to get nowhere. My mind won't be changed. Your mind won't be changed. But around nationalism, why don't you tell me, and I will listen, what a Christian's role in government should or should not be?
Simple. Sermon on the Mount. Operate in that way, and that's
What does that look like in practice in America in
well.
2025?
In practice, it doesn't look like what has happened in history with Christians who have tried to establish their governance in the lands. For example, American history, slavery. Majority of white Christians supported the institution of slavery. Move on to Jim Crow.
That's actually not true.
No,
Time
that is
out.
true. That is true.
Time out. 9 out of 13 of the states, by the time of the ratification of the Constitution, were already abolishing slavery. 9 out of 13.
Let's move on to Jim Crow.
Time out. Slavery actually had a minority approval rating by the time of the U.S. founding. We were the second nation ever to abolish slavery because of Christianity. So let me just ask a very moral question. The Christians that got involved in the abolition of slavery, like John Quincy Adams and William Wilberforce, they did it in the name of Christ. Were they wrong?
No, but those were small minority Christians. Majority of the Christians
it was
of the
mass
time.
movements.
Let's move on to Jim Crow because majority.
You're moving on
No, because
it
I
was-
didn't finish my statement.
But it was
You interrupted my
Christianity that
statement.
abolished slavery.
It was a sect in Christianity that abolished it. It was a remnant of Christians who didn't go with the established order of what Christians believed.
Well, no.
We can go to Jim Crow. Let me finish the statement, please.
Okay, I mean-
in Jim Crow, majority of white Christians also supported not abolishing Jim Crow and keeping the institution. They did not support the civil rights movement. This is documented data.
Well, not supporting the Civil Rights Act and supporting Jim Crow are two completely different things.
Those go hand in hand
Well,
together.
the
in
Civil
my
Rights
opinion.
Act was a disaster. I mean, that was a terrible idea. But I mean, that's a whole separate issue. But just so we are clear, because the Civil Rights Act hyper-racialized America. We actually talk about race more after the Civil Rights Act than before. We were promised a color-bride society. We got a race-obsessed society. But just to be clear, today in America, what does a Christian properly involved in government look like?
I'm just going to say the same thing I said, the Sermon on the Mount.
Okay, but-
Love
and-
your neighbor as yourself. Take others before your own needs. Feed the poor, clothe the sick, care for the widow, advocate for these values.
I agree with all that. And so, for example, to care for the poor and care for the vulnerable, abolish abortion. Right?
So abortion is another issue, but what about the living right now? Because
Yes.
you don't seem to be for raising taxes on billionaires.
Of course not. Why would I?
So if you want to legislate morality, abortion,
It's
I
not-
want to curb the sin of greed.
But so you want to curb the sin of greed
So
by
I-
taking other people's stuff? That's
It-
pretty greedy of you.
No, it is not. It is not.
Just to be clear,
the data shows is that
raising
the
taxes-
past 40 years, the wealth in this country, the wealth inequality
Yes.
has increased, which is the top 1% has
Yes.
grabbed the wealth of the
Totally.
majority bottom.
There are reasons why that's happened, but just
Why
so
is
we
that
are
happening?
clear,
Why is that happening?
I'm happy to explain that. Just to be clear, saying we're going to just raise tax on the billionaires, that statement, you just violated 2 out of the 10 commandments.
That's not true.
Thou shalt not steal and thou shalt not covet.
How
We're going
is
to go
that
take
stealing?
other people's money.
How is that stealing?
Because it's their money.
We live in a society that is run by taxes. How is that stealing?
Well, taxations are a form of theft, definitionally, because it's not the government's money. It is private property that you earn when the government extracts it by force.
Someone breaks into your house, you call the police. When you have a fire, you call the fireman. When you want to drive, you drive on roads. When you want to mail, you use the U.S. Post Office. These are all taxes.
Yeah,
we all contribute as a society.
Of course. But
this is elementary stuff. It's not theft. How do you run a society
hold
without
on.
taxes?
What happens if you don't pay your taxes?
I mean, you get the law handed to you, but
Oh, okay. So therefore, so you pay taxes at gunpoint.
I think most conservatives agree with this viewpoint that taxation is theft, and I agree. But I think we're in a social compact where some amount of tax is necessary. I think the government has probably grown much too large. We spend much too much of other people's money. I don't know the solution. I'm not in favor of taking more and more and more and more taxes. But I don't have a solution.
Point.
if you break the law, you should pay the fine.
No, exactly. That's the point. Is that taxes are not voluntary. Nor do I think they should be voluntary. You just have to be honest and say, yes, at some form, the government has to forcibly take some of your money away. I agree with that. But just we're going in so many different rabbit trails. Let me ask you just like a fundamental, simple question. Is that, do you want to see a government that fights for Christian principles or not?
That excludes the rest of the population? If we're not living in a theocracy, no, I want equal representation. And the church doesn't need to have government in order to thrive. In fact, in suffering and humility, the church thrives.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's like totally insane, but that's fine.
We're not trying to invite suffering. That's crazy. That's nuts. There's a difference between there's a difference between a state-sponsored religion and basing your moral code on the Christian religion, you know, like on Christian ethics. Two very, very different things.
What was that insane? Go look at the
Ask the Muslims.
early church.
You want to invite persecution, is what you're saying.
I'm not inviting it, but
Yes,
Christians ought to welcome it and embrace it and go through it.
Okay, but sometimes persecution results in the unjust suffering of millions of people unnecessarily. And so you should never invite evil
But
into this world.
did Jesus not promise that to us?
Well, did Jesus promise trials and difficult times?
Yes.
Yes, of course, but we should not invite it voluntarily. You know what that's like saying? Let's just, have no military. Everyone can invite us because persecution will make us stronger. It's such a ridiculous, abstract argument.
I mean, I don't see any scripture supporting a military for Christians.
You don't think we should have a military?
A government can have a military, but Christians...
Yeah, I mean, look, man, you got to go a lot deeper into the scriptures. You have a dangerously surface level.
You should read early church fathers on how they view violence and the
Actually,
military.
so you want to talk about early church fathers? Tell me about St. Augustine's just war theory.
You tell me about
Tell
it.
me, you just brought up early church fathers.
No, you tell me about
Tell
it.
me about St. Augustine in the City of God, 3rd chapter, just war theory.
Well, I don't really agree with a lot of St. Augustine because
He's the most popular early
in the
church
West,
father.
in the West. But there's the East, St. Athanasius, St. Gregory of Nyssa, Origen, all these different names that you probably are not familiar with because it's in the East. But most early church fathers condemned violence for, if you're in the church, you must leave the military, quit service, because you now belong to the kingdom of God, which operates on a different
Do you agree
plane.
with that?
I agree that if you're a Christian, you have no reason to commit violence for any reason at all.
I think that's insane. Honestly.
Just look at the example of Jesus. Was he put on a throne, or did he embrace the cross?
It says at the end of age, Jesus will come with a sword to judge.
Are you reading Revelation literally?
Yes, of course
So
I am.
he has an actual sword out of his mouth.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's your
The
contention?
interpretation that's common is Revelation. When he has a sword, that's the word dividing your soul and spirit, piercing the hearts. It's not. He's not waging war on people and killing millions of people.
That Christians should not serve in the military is your contention?
That's my belief. You don't have to believe that.
Yeah. We're gonna have
But-
to get to the next question.
All right.
That's a new one. I got to be honest. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, hi. Thanks for letting us talk to you. Can I take a selfie quickly? All right. My first question is, what's your stance on infant circumcision?
It's a very good question. Should it be allowed or should it be legal? I'm actually not a fan of it.
Like, it should be illegal.
I mean, it should be legal, but I'm not a fan of it.
Or do you mean legal if medically necessary, or legal by the parents' choice?
Legal with, I would say, religious exemptions. I mean, in Judaism, circumcision is a big deal. But there actually is not a great medical reason anymore to circumcise your kids. I know way more about this than the audience probably wants to hear. But
Okay. And then my second question is about the abortion arguments you made earlier. You gave an example where a mother isn't allowed to kill her child, but she can put her child up for adoption. I don't know. If you think about, I believe that abortion should be legal before viability. So if you think about an abortion as like removing the fetus from the mother, the fetus can't survive on its own, and if the mother doesn't want to continue providing nutrients to the fetus, then and no one else can provide nutrients to the fetus either, then the fetus will die. Similarly, if I don't know, if the mother puts the baby up for adoption and no one in the entire United States wants to adopt the child, then the child will die. Yeah, in that case, in the case where no one wants to take care of the child, who would be responsible for the child's death? Would the child be killed? Yeah.
I mean, foster care system sucks, but kids aren't really getting killed in the foster care system. I mean,
Yeah.
sure it happens, but I mean, it's probably incredibly rare. I kind of did this a lot earlier, but our view as pro-lifers is that development starts at conception when your DNA is formed, and that any interruption or your insertion within the process of human development is definitionally murder, regardless of viability. There are a lot of people that wouldn't be viable outside of the womb. There are people that are on dialysis machines. There's people on ventilators. There's all sorts of viability arguments that actually don't bear out. And just because at 13 weeks you might not be able to survive outside of the womb, if you allow the baby to continue to develop, it can, because it's all part of a long-standing arc of human development.
For the people on dialysis machines, are there any people that are required to take care of them, or do they?
Well, the state does eventually. If they're abandoned, eventually the state has to take care of somebody.
Okay. Can the state take care of a fetus before viability?
No, but that doesn't mean it's not a human. Just because something is not viable does not mean it's not a human being.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other question I have
Let's skip
is,
ahead.
White one.
White dudes for Harris? No. Hi.
Hello. Hi,
You
Charlie.
can come up and say something. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Hi, Charlie. It's an honor to meet you. Oh, sorry. I can't go to the mic. Honor to meet you. I've been watching your debates all along, and I'm a proud conservative, proud parent of legal immigrants, proud American, and I just wanted to talk about the economy a little bit. I know when the tariffs hit, I do invest a lot, and I was a bit scared when it went down, but I like to think of the long term. So what could you say to alleviate long-term fears when it comes to, the stock market and any corrections in like 12 to 18 months?
If you invest in the stock market, do not look at your stocks every day. Don't even look at them every week. You should be investing in a multi-year perspective. Look, even if you bought stocks at like the worst possible time, which is like the height of 2008 before the crash, or the height of 2020, even if you bought at those times, you still would be up dramatically today. The stock market has a crawling towards a higher and higher outcome. I am long-term incredibly bullish on the United States of America.
Same here.
We're going to have low taxes. We're going to have high growth. Thank you.
I wanted to skip ahead. What I want to do in this this video is to show a variety of people from different backgrounds and the questions they might have asked and how he answered those questions. So I don't want to just keep beating the same dead horse, so to speak. So we're going to skip ahead to this young lady coming up.
Okay. Hello. I had a few questions regarding like college. What you said about college is like an investment.
I've done this 3 or 4 times. Do we have any other disagreements, guys? But yeah, I can do it quickly if you'd like.
So you said that college is like an investment. You should be going to college if you want to a job outside of entrepreneur and engineering and things like that. But what about doctors? Like, doctors' education is super important. Would you rather have somebody who's educated and going to college to become a doctor, or would you rather have somebody with no hands-on skills?
Of course, but I mean, people who study to become doctors is less than 1% of the people that go to college, right? So
Like, you could say like
highly specialized.
Yeah. And then another question I had is, we're from a really rural community, and we're trying to get more kids involved in things like this and just asking open questions so kids can like actually learn and not just trust the media and the mainstream media what they're saying. And we're wondering like, how can we organize a young Republican group in my county and have an effective advice that you would give us to educating the youth in conservative principles and creating an organization that will have lasting impacts on our political disclosure in our community and country?
Well, you should start a Turning Point USA group in your community. We'd love to help you out.
Yeah, thank you. And then a follow-up. Would you give us some time to tell us about like what time our group would need to bring a larger audience and bring awareness about the necessity of investing in the youth of the GOP?
Say that again. Sorry.
Sorry.
and you had a disagreement, right?
Yeah, like going to college. I think going to college is very important, especially if you're going for something like you're majoring in like being a doctor, you're getting your radiology degree. You need to learn how to work those instruments and perform surgeries. So I think college is huge and important. And I've been to probably about 4 or 5 different countries, and I have time to study and do 9 classes at that same time. So
great for you. Yeah. Happy to talk to you about the Turning Point group and to help it get it started. You want a hat?
Yeah. Yes. Can I have 2 hats, please,
All right, you
or
got
3?
It. There you go. 2. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. Can you guys just take a step back a little bit? Just take a step back so we can get some of the disagreements here.
What's up, Charlie? My understanding is that you are against ranked choice voting. I think that is one of the best things that could happen to stop the polarization of America. I would like to hear your stance on why you don't believe ranked choice voting
Yeah,
is
I mean,
a good thing.
it's a disaster. It hasn't worked anywhere. Has it de-radicalized like New York, for example?
I think it should be used primarily in the presidential election. I feel like that's the election it would work best in, not small-scale elections. I don't think it'll work for smaller-scale elections where it's harder for people to know multiple candidates.
More nuanced. Why don't you explain to the audience what ranked choice voting is?
So ranked choice voting, I think the best example would be this year. RFK was a very popular candidate. If you thought RFK was the best candidate, you could write him as the best candidate, Trump at 2, and then Kamala at 4 or 5 or something like that. Then if RFK does not have many first-place votes, your vote would then go to Donald Trump.
I don't want to debate this too much because I could tell you're well-intentioned. Let me just give you very technical. In Alaska, where they have ranked choice voting, do you know what the number 1 problem is? No one knows how to fill this stuff out. And there's incredible confusion. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely agree. That's why I think it should be only for the presidential election where people know multiple candidates.
Still, with the confusion, though, people wait a second, I didn't mean to vote for this person and this person won. Like there was the famous primary between Kelly Tshibaka and Lisa Murkowski, and people were so confused at how to fill it out. I think our system's fine. Ranked choice voting also would eliminate the Republican Party and part of the Democrat Party in its current form.
I believe I heard you say that Donald Trump would have lost the 2016 election if ranked choice voting were a thing. I think you said that on a podcast.
I might have said that. I don't know. Sure, I'll defend it, but yeah.
If you're not sure if you said it or not and don't want to defend it, I want to attack you on it. But I truly believe that ranked choice voting and bringing more candidates in would do nothing but force mainstream media to talk about multiple candidates. It's really easy to look at the other side and say they're fascist, they're this. When there's multiple large candidates, you can't point at everybody and say they're fascist.
Smart point.
And
okay.
I feel like it would decrease polarization. I think it's one of the things that Trump should be focused on.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I've not gotten a ranked choice voting question. Yes, I'll sign it for you. Yes, thank you.
Excuse me, so sorry. Hey Charlie, how you doing? I don't know how many of these you gotten, but I'm thankful you're here, and glory to God. I have two fun questions. First,
I did kind of want to touch on the college question. I mean, nobody here knows, but I have 6 children. My oldest 2 did not go to college. They are both in their late 30s. My oldest is a crane operator, and he attended some college but didn't finish. He's a U.S. Army veteran of the Iraq War. He is a crane operator, like I said, and I believe, he's doing very well for him and his family. My oldest daughter also, they both graduated high school, but they didn't finish college. She's the manager of, she's in management. And also, I believe, doing very well. I have my second oldest daughter is taking her last few classes for her bachelor's degree. And very proud of her that she is of a liberal mindset, which I think has gotten even more radical as she has attended college. I have my middle son attended an automotive vocational program, and he just graduated. And then I still have 2, one in middle school and one in high school. College is expensive. It's difficult to pay off. It takes years and years to pay off college debt. And so I really think you have to weigh what you are going to college for versus the cost benefit. Vocational training is a perfectly valid path. I think for most people, a high school education is probably not enough these days. So vocational is a very valid path for a lot of people, and probably more people than are pursuing it. I would encourage people to choose vocational training over college probably a majority of the time.
can I get 2 signed hats?
It depends. I'm going to run out.
Okay, fair. At least one then. Second, my brother's having a wedding on the 5th, and he was wondering if you would want to go.
I'm
elementary education here. As a future educator, I would like to know your thoughts on teaching controversial topics such as abortion disguised as women's rights, gender identity, sexuality, and all religions except for Christianity in classrooms K through 6, and how can I combat administration pressuring me to teach those things that I don't align with?
First of all, God bless you. We need more teachers like yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.
I struggle with that. I personally would not be able to be a teacher of something I don't believe.
Correct.
And so that's going to be maybe try to get hired by a Christian school or a private school.
So it's not in like any academic standards throughout like the state or the nation, but admin is pressuring teachers. So in a professional manner, how do I say, no, I'm not teaching that?
Yeah, I haven't eaten today, so.
I don't have a good answer to that.
Okay.
Because they're gonna use your basically pressure over your employment to try to coerce you. Never do something that is against your faith or against your deeply held beliefs. Try to be an example towards your students of what you believe and why you believe it. and stand firm when they try to attack you. And there's a fair amount of case law too about making teachers teach stuff that's against their views. So I encourage you to look at that as well.
All right, thank you. Can I have you
Yes,
sign this?
God bless you. Yes, thank you.
I gotta go. What? Sorry, I'm just with.
Okay, is this the colonization question?
Yeah. Are you done? Okay. I'll wait.
Thank you.
I am so sorry, Charlie. My blood sugar's low, so they're letting me go.
Get her a Snickers.
My name's Jaden. I skipped class to be here today, but I do have a question and then a few statements. And then there is a guy behind me from Iran, and he's got a really good take. Thank you so much. He's got a really good take on what's going on in the country right now. But my question...
Don't pass out.
I'm not going to pass out, I promise. My question is, as a Christian, I have a friend that grew up in China, and he has been pushed back from Christianity from the East because his argument was that Christianity has been used to take control, like colonization, to take control of other countries and deplete them of their resources. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. And so I just had an honest conversation with him. I was like, hey, I have to separate myself from, you have to separate governments and their people, and God doesn't approve of Christianity being used for evil purposes. So I'd really like your take on that. I've got a few observations after your response, and then I want to be a journalist, and so I have some, like a career
All right,
advice
we'll try to go
question.
through that quickly.
Yep.
I agree with all that. If ever political power is abused in the name of God, I believe that actually violates the third commandment, which is thou shalt not carry the Lord's name in vain. And I believe that's the worst thing that somebody can do, which is do evil in the name of God. But understand, colonialism was not all bad. Ooh. And you have to tell your friend that, which is that there was a lot of good that came out of colonialism. Common law, the idea of due process, the institution of courts, private property. So much of, like for example, from Hong Kong to India, so much of the standards that have allowed them to get out of the third world was largely built because of colonization.
Okay.
And then the journalist question, yes.
Yeah.
And that's Western civilization. That's what it has been built from. When people say we don't have culture, you're living in our culture. Your Western civilization is the culture. Okay.
So I do have a few statements just for my peers here, because I have just quick comments. One, I think that the destruction of our country, me and my friend Ali were just talking about that. He's a Christian, but he used to be a Muslim, right? So he's got some comments. And I think that as a country, when our country failed is when we pushed Jesus Christ out of our school systems and out of our government, and we wanted ourselves to be God over him to be God. And I think that most people don't realize the separation of church and state was not to protect the state from the church. It was to protect the church from the state. And we have got to put Jesus Christ back into our government. And I see so many, I come from a broken home and a broken family. I see so many men. Satan has attacked our family units. I see so many men that don't want to step up and lead their homes. And I see so many women.
Okay, we're an hour into the stream, so I do want to move on. But my comment on this particular statement, I don't want Christianity in my schools. I want, religion to be taught in the home and in the church. I don't want it in my schools. I believe that, it shouldn't be banned. I don't think students should be banned from prayer or gathering together, for, on breaks or clubs or, after school activities. But I don't want it in the classroom necessarily. If you want to study the Bible as literature, I'm fine with that. But to have Christianity sponsored necessarily in the school, I'm not a fan of. So let's move on to some more current. Let's go check out Twitter and what's going on here today. so let's go. I'm going to turn the window off here for a minute. Just because I, search terms, I don't necessarily want to share all my search terms. All right. This from Just a Dad, the only video we need to watch, that we need to be watching right now. This is what they are fighting against. Family. Fatherhood. And they took Charlie away from these children, They're going to grow up without their father. It's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. From Maytar, the leftist neo-Nazi watermelons, the Islamists and communists are celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. They're celebrating a political murder. There's no talking to these demons. America needs a purge. Well, yeah, I saw this yesterday, or it might have been this morning. I saw it. This guy, as soon as Charlie was shot, was celebrating in the crowd. It's just disgusting. Yeah, and here's how people are reacting.
Did you see that Charlie Kirk got shot and killed? How do you feel?
Happy. Goodbye.
Wow. Did you see that Charlie Kirk just got shot and killed?
That's good.
Wow, that's good.
It's really loud.
That's good that people are getting shot just off a political view. Good that people are dying in America.
Did you see that Charlie Kirk got shot and killed today?
Yes, I did.
How do you feel about that?
I don't really have any feelings about it. Who are you?
Charlie Kirk got shot and killed today. We're just getting people's opinions. How do you feel about that?
Girl, someone had to do it. And that's how I feel at this
See,
point in time.
disgusting.
But
I appreciate your honesty. I truly do. So you said someone had to do it.
Disgusting.
yes. Try not to get all pulled up into that, but he was a misogynist. He was a disgusting person with disgusting beliefs.
So if you had a magical wand, a magical button that you could press and keep him from being assassinated, would you press that?
No. I think things happen for a purpose. And if that's how his life was ended, then that's how it was ended. So.
Do you know who Charlie Kirk is?
Yeah, he's a who she. I'm like, yeah, he's an I wouldn't wish it to anyone, but I don't think his political views are correct,
Get right up.
Yeah. You think he'd already be in place?
You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there? Just saying?
Right
She's
there.
saying from
there.
over, where's my finger? Whoa.
I saw a brief video of somebody running across the roof. I don't know if we'll see that in this feed.
Do you feel proud of yourself for debating college kids who are unprepared to speak in front of an audience like yourself?
Are you a voter?
I am a voter.
Oh,
I'm a
so
registered
I vote and you vote. So I'm talking to voters of this country that will determine the future of Western civilization. That's what I'm doing here for. Yeah? Wait, hold on. How is it any different than a professor talking to you?
Then a professor talking to you? Who are you?
Well, important enough for you to come up to a microphone.
Yeah, looks like more of these deranged people.
Please let the rumors be true. Let the gossip be reality. Please.
Guys, it happened. He got it pronounced dead. Oh my god, this is literally like, I swear to God.
This is who they are.
Like the big, beautiful obituary. Like, we're so close. We're this fucking close. I swear we're this close. That is for sure. I am definitely popping a bottle tonight.
Plus,
I can't believe it.
0066.
Whoever did it, I just want to say thank you so much. Whoever did it, they finally did it for the sake of humanity. Thank
We have to
you
expose these people, every one of them.
Thank you.
Holy fucking shit, he's dead? Fucking shit.
Ding dong, the witch is dead. To everyone saying that it was such a senseless, violent act, I want you to remind yourself that it was God's plan. I mean, really, it was actually his fault because, like, he should have been wearing, like, a bulletproof neck brace or something. Like, I cannot believe he walked out the house without it. I mean, really, you have to be aware of what you're wearing in public so that, like, people don't target you. And you don't become a victim. So I guess this is just another example of God's plan in action. It was not a senseless act of violence. This was God's plan. Happy
So with Charlie Kirk getting shot, it's a good time to remind us that he is the one who said verbatim that gun deaths are worth it for to keep his gun rights. So as long as we don't take any guns from anybody because of this, he died a happy man.
I would say pour one out for Kirky Boy, but I don't waste good beer on little bitches.
Disgusting. Apparently this guy was not the guy. They did arrest him pretty quickly. Pardon me. As I understand it, he confessed to it, like, you know, almost immediately, and they did arrest him, but it's not the guy. Cernovich, he's posted here. We cannot and will not let rage take hold, as such emotions are from the chaotic demons worshipped by the left. The country's fury is righteous, and those who are wicked will face justice, maybe sooner than they realize. And Dave Rubin, did anyone in America sleep last night? Well, I'll tell you, I did not sleep well. curious. The New York Yankees held a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk before their game against the Detroit Tigers on Wednesday night, hours after the right-wing activist was shot and killed during an event at Utah Valley State University. It was one of many reactions to the shooting from around the sports world as current and former athletes condemned the violent act. Tim Pool says, press conference confirms bolt action weapon corroborating Crowder's report. I don't agree with this. Anna Paulina Luna. I'm calling on Elon Musk to remove the horrifying videos of Charlie Kirk's murder. He has a family, young children, and no one should be forced to relive this tragedy online. These are not the only graphic videos of horrifying murders circulating. I don't agree with that. I'm not going to show it on my stream, but it should be available. And as horrifying as it is, I think everyone should watch it. Teacher at Naples, I'm guessing Naples Community School District, celebrate Charlie's assassination. Looks like he says Charlie Kirk, who said that gun violence is a price worth paying for his version of the Second Amendment, spent his last coherent moments baselessly blaming transgender people for gun violence and arguing for stripping them of exactly those rights. The aspiring Goebbels was interrupted by a bullet in the neck, which quickly cured him of HVLD, and shortly thereafter he became a good Nazi. Good riddance to. I hope he gets what he deserves. Fired. Oh my gosh. Looks like this is the Blue Sky app. This is Jennifer. Urgent for your information. After Charlie Kirk on the Sky app, there are people asking for the next person to be targeted. These include J.K. Rowling, Matt Walsh, Trump, Ben Shapiro, Libs of TikTok, Elon Musk, and Andy Ngo. I took as many screenshots as I could. Calling for Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro. Best birthday present ever. I'm laughing so hard. That's what you get, bitch, man. Do Ben Shapiro next. Ben Shapiro, J.K. Rowling. Like, I'm glad that guy died, but they're going really hard on the, oh, this is a dark day for America, about a guy I had never heard of till he was shot. Calling for J.K. Rowling. Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan, J.K. Rowling, Ben Shapiro. Dennis Prager, Matt Walsh. Crazy, crazy. Matt Walsh. Trump. Trump. I hope the FBI is investigating these people. What is it? Bongino. Let me make sure I got the right. Bongino. There we go. I just want to make sure I got the right one. I don't have the reach, but yeah, you never know what they will see. You never know. You never know what they will see. Pardon me. Yeah, look at this.
What? Go! Yeah. Grab me out. Hey, yo, grab me out. Let's go up, guys. Come on. Let's go up, guys. I don't know. Let's go. I have no idea. Let's go. Come on, guys. What are you doing? Get the fuck out. What? Go! Yeah. Grab me out.
Unbelievable.
Isn't it just so refreshing to finally see an assassination pulled off successfully for once? I mean, talk about professionalism at the right time. Isn't it just so refreshing?
The left is disgusting. They're disgusting. I scroll right past that. I'm not going to show it here. See what Alex has to say.
Steven Crowder is now exclusively reporting from ATF documents he got from the ATF confirmed that it was a trans shooter, they believe, because they found the rifle on the roof, right where we thought it came from, where everybody saw the person up there. Left the rifle with all the trans carvings, just like the shooter up in Minneapolis a few weeks ago. And they've been calling for their days of rage. They have been building up. They're very suicidal. They believe it's everybody's fault. And they've got to go out and kill. And so that's who they're after right now on the manhunt. We actually believe we know who it is. There was an individual that said on internet posts and social media that something big was going to happen that day who was trans. That's probably the main person, but there's going to be a lot more of this, folks. This is literally a zombie army of killers. And they're totally brainwashed. This is MK Ultra 2.0. Pray for Charlie Kirk and his family. Steven Crowder's been covering live on his show. I'm about to shoot a large report on this. Harrison Smith's about to go live at Infowars.com/show and right here on Rellox Jones. All the details. I'll be in the office early. There's so much breaking news. Stay with us and follow me here on X Rellox Jones. Thank you.
Alex looks good, by the way. I don't agree with this either. It doesn't take a highly skilled sniper to make a 200-yard shot. It just doesn't. And they were probably aiming for his head, and the shot went low. No, it doesn't. It doesn't take a highly trained sniper to make a shot. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of people who hunt deer who could make that shot. People who just go to the range for fun could make that shot. That's Real America's Voice says Charlie Kirk update. Video suggests shooter on a rooftop aimed at center mass. Round struck vest, then ricocheted into Charlie's neck. Forensics will determine motive and whether others were involved. More updates soon. I've not seen this video.
Shooting over here. Hell of people running.
That's very loud for me. I gotta turn this down a little.
Somebody's shooting over here. Hell of people running. There he is, right there. That guy. He's the guy.
See that again.
Somebody's shooting over here. Hell of people running. There he is, right there. That guy.
He is dressed like the guy that was running across the roof in the video I saw.
He's the guy. Somebody's shooting over.
Oh, okay. Added context. This video is from 29th of July. Okay, so it's not him. Benjamin Netanyahu says Charlie Kirk was. Let's read this. Charlie Kirk was murdered for speaking truth and defending freedom, a lion-hearted friend of Israel. He fought the lies and stood tall for Judeo-Christian civilization. I spoke to him only 2 weeks ago and invited him to Israel. Sadly, that visit will not take place. We lost an incredible human being. His boundless pride in America and his valiant belief in free speech will have a lasting impact. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. Kyle Becker.
Clinton did, oh, we condemn this violence. Guess what? You can't call the President of the United States for 10 years Adolf Hitler. And you can't say that he's a fascist dictator. And you can't say that anyone who voted for Trump or advocated for him, like you, me, Riley, and Charlie Kirk, are Nazis. And then when someone tries to kill us, you can't suddenly say, oh, we condemn this violence.
That's right.
You caused it. Look
That's
at
right.
Right now, you caused this.
That's right.
If you tell people that someone is Hitler, you are telling crazy people, go kill them.
Yep.
And I am sick of pretending anything other than what they're doing. That guy in West Palm Beach, what did he say?
That's right.
He was killing Trump because he believed Trump was Hitler. This is what they do, all right? This left-wing violence, it's out of control. And Charlie Kirk bore the brunt of that left-wing violence. And guess what? But for the twist of his head at the last minute, Donald Trump's head would have been blown off on live television. And that is intentional. They are lighting fires and then claiming, oh, what do you know? There's a fire there. They're doing it on purpose. MSNBC, Sean, you watch this. They were live on the air saying, one of their guys said, they put out a PR statement. He said, well, Charlie Kirk was riddled basically with hate. And when you put hate out into the world, this kind of thing happens. Oh, tough break. You get shot and killed even though you're completely innocent and all you're doing is making arguments for the betterment of the country. Tough break for your young daughter. Tough break for your son, for your lovely wife that will never get the opportunity to see you grow old with them. am so angry. And I understand everybody out there says, well, we have to tamp down the anger.
No. Be angry.
Riley is so brave, and I'm so glad that she. Is speaking out in so many ways. But let me hammer something home here. I am sick.
New York Times opinion. The assassination of Charlie Kirk is a tragedy. The editorial board writes, his killing is also part of a horrifying wave of political violence in America. Coming from the left, by the way. If I'm wrong, show me the news stories of the right committing these heinous acts. Yeah. And there was a shooting at a Denver high school shortly after. I'll be honest, I don't know anything about it. We might check that out on a different stream. South Park pulled the episode with Charlie Kirk. Good. Asmongold, Zach, he says, I know people are out for blood, but let's be real, guys. No one pulled the trigger over a South Park episode. Stick to the actual bad actors instead of going after anything critical or satirical about Charlie Kirk. Even he thought the episode was funny. That's true. That's true. Asmongold took a break from caring for his dad yesterday and did do a short video about Charlie. Let's see if we can find that. Yeah, here it is.
Hey guys, it's me again, and it's been a little while. Just before I get into the main topic of the video, I want to explain why there haven't been any videos. My dad has been in the hospital for the better part of a week now. Very serious situation. It has required my full attention. And because of that, I've been on calls, I've been dealing with other people, talking to members of the family, doing everything that I need to be there for my dad and for my family during this situation. And because of that, I haven't been live and I haven't made a lot of videos. I apologize for that. Hopefully I'll be back as soon as possible. That being said, we had something insane happen today, and I was able to break away a little bit earlier, and I wanted to make a video about it and talk about the obvious and inevitable nature of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This happened a few hours ago, and it was probably one of the most gruesome and graphic, and this is coming from somebody who grew up on LiveLeak, videos I've ever seen. The first time I saw a video, I thought it was AI generated. The guy gets shot in the neck, and blood is spurting out. I didn't even know it could do that. And it was absolutely fucking horrifying to see something like that happen in front of a massive audience of people. Now, if you don't know who Charlie Kirk is, Charlie Kirk has been a pretty noteworthy you know, like controversial guy. He's a conservative. He goes to a lot of college campuses, does live debates. This is a pretty popular format nowadays, and Charlie Kirk has been popularizing it and utilizing it now for many years, and he's even featured in South Park recently because of it. Charlie Kirk definitely is not a super radical right-wing person, but I would say that he's more of the moderate to, you know, kind of extreme right-wing. Very, I would say, lukewarm, though, in my opinion, at least especially, and this is where we're going, especially compared to now. And what I think is going to happen now, because obviously these shootings like this don't really happen inside of a vacuum, and they never do, they never have. And I think that the situation that we have right now is that there is a tremendous amount of political violence that is advocated for, promoted, and allowed to exist on social media that has turned up the temperature in all political conversations, all social conversations, and all discourse on the internet in general, to a point where it's almost unrecoverable. You have people that are out there all the time advocating for violence, advocating for people to get killed. Somebody needs to take care of this guy. Somebody needs to deal with this. I wish he were dead. Won't somebody do it? The ADC.
And as we just saw, that's been turned up to 11 today.
647, all of the crypto messaging and all of the doxing, right? Why do you dox somebody? Why do you post a person's home address? It's to make other people that are insane, like the person who killed Charlie Kirk, it's to give them the ammunition they need to kill that person and to put that person's life in danger. That's why they're doing it. And so that's the reason why they want to find out the identities of ICE agents. That's the reason why they want to find out the identities of Tesla owners, like at the beginning of the year. It's so they can destroy their car and destroy their lives. And this isn't necessarily a one-sided thing. I think that in the last 5 years or so, especially since BLM, it's been a like 90% left-wing thing. But that doesn't mean that the 10% right-wing people are right either. But I do think that now you're going to see a lot more right-wing people balancing out those scales. The fact is that you can take a knife to a gunfight all you want, and you can think that you're honorable, but you're going to end up being dead. And I think that's what right-wing people have done for a very long time. They've tried to speak above the political violence. They've tried to advocate above it and not try to stoop down to that level. But the issue is that a lot of these social media companies have expressed literally zero desire to even do the bare minimum of moderation. I think that two of the worst actors are Twitter or X and Reddit. Both of these platforms are full of a bunch of extremist nut jobs.
And Blue Sky.
Not only should have their accounts banned, but they should probably be put in mental institutions. And I think that now, I find it to be kind of interesting taking a step back for a week or so and seeing how many people are coming around to the inevitable reality that this is the only path forward. There are so many people in society now that are just completely unhinged, under-medicated, and really just completely insane.
Or over-medicated. Yeah.
That you can't have a person like that running wild out in society. They cause problems for themselves, not to mention everybody else around them. And I think that the society, we need to have an honest conversation about how to deal with these people in a way that, and I'll be real, I don't really care about the people that are crazy. Their well-being and the way that, you know, things are for them. Of course, obviously, I wouldn't want it to be bad, but it's certainly not important. What's really important is all the people who aren't crazy, making sure that people that are not crazy, that are good actors, that are law-abiding citizens, are able to live a life of peace, a life of prosperity, and a life without fear of going on the subway, for example, as at the recent event as well. And I think that every single person in the world deserves to live in a place like that. And I don't want to see, America turn into a PvP server. And it sure seems like it is. And I think that in order to prevent that from happening, we need to have honest conversations about what do you do with people that, get arrested 14 times And it's not even a question, right? You put them in jail and you throw away the key, and you compel them to work, and that way you can make the money back from imprisoning them forever. That's the way that you solve that problem. It's very simple, actually. But for some reason, the way that that makes people feel has made them unwilling to look at this obvious truth. If you look in history, this is what we've always done in history, and it's because it works. And the problem is that now we have so much of the discourse that's dominated by emotional thinking, that's dominated by the most unstable, the most virtue signal, the most, ridiculous, performative empathy possible, and that's defining a huge political voice in the country. This has become a tremendous detriment to everyone. And I think that with people like the shooter that probably shot Charlie Kirk, with that guy in the subway that stabbed that Ukrainian woman, or with that trans shooter that shot up the school, one thing that's common among all of them is that these people, in almost all cases, were verifiably nuts beforehand, and nothing ever was done about it. And until we can stomach the idea...
Yeah, and I'll just say, when I was younger, I did some wrong, and I spent a few nights in the county jail, and I learned my lesson. Okay, I learned my lesson. I'm not saying I've been a perfect person ever since then, but I do make concerted efforts to not break the law, and that's a problem that some people just never learn, and they just continue with that same behavior. And something needs to be done with those people.
Idea of solving problems like that before they happen, we're going to keep having problems. And I think that with Charlie Kirk, it's very obvious that the amount of, political violence and advocating for political violence that's happening on the internet has turned up the temperature and created an environment and a culture where this type of behavior is normal. And not only is it normal, but it's actually encouraged. And the problem is that now people are acting on it. And you're starting to see this happen, and I think it's going to continue getting worse. I don't think Charlie Kirk is going to be the last one, but I think that we will look at Charlie Kirk's death and see it as a turning point in this topic.
I hope so.
And what I'm really trying to get at here with this entire point is that right now we are at a extremely pivotal moment. And I think that what's going to end up happening is that right-wing people are not going to continue to turn the other cheek. They're not going to continue to just, this is just a crazy left-wing radical. I think you're probably going to see right-wing people doing the same thing to left-wing people. And honestly, while I don't think this is a good thing, I certainly don't really feel that sorry for them. Because a lot of left-wing people have no problem advocating for violence, or at least using coded language in order to advocate for violence. The fact is that there's a certain level of intellectual dishonesty that goes on in situations like this where it's considered, this isn't actually what they meant, and no, this is actually some other... No, it is. It's exactly what they mean. They're trying to advocate for killing people that they disagree with. That's what's happening, and there's no talking around it. And to the extent that you try to, you're insulting the intelligence of anyone that you're speaking to. And I think that now you're going to start seeing a lot of right-wing people end up doing this to left-wing people now even more, because it's very clear that these social media platforms are not going to moderate this behavior. The FBI, for whatever reason, just refuses to deal with or have any degree of accountability for dealing with these obvious terrorists that are in the country. And because of that, I think you're going to start seeing an uptick of violence from right-wing people as well. And this is going to be, in my opinion, I don't really think the word is justified, because it's not justified, but the word is expected. I think it's going to be expected. The fact is that, again, you bring a knife to a gunfight, you're going to lose. And don't be surprised when you keep bringing guns to gunfights and then somebody else decides to start shooting back. I think that's what's going to happen. And I think this is a degradation of society as a whole. And ultimately, the real burden of responsibility here doesn't really fall on influencers.
Let me be clear. I agree, but I hope that's not the case. I hope I hope that we express justified anger. But I hope it doesn't turn our streets into battlegrounds any more than they already are.
And I don't think that it falls even on the commenters themselves. I think it falls primarily on the government. The fact is that the government, there are already laws that permit, explicit calls to violence. There's already laws that permit the types of stalking and doxing that people engage in online. And one of the big things that is a misconception is that people like me want new laws. We want any form of extra censorship at all. I certainly don't want that, and I don't know anybody else that does either. But what we do want is we want the existing laws to be applied and to be enforced in an accurate and a fair way, which is clearly not what's happening.
That's right.
And really the government not doing that and giving this asymmetrical, in my opinion, advantage to left-wing people to fully and with complete freedom practice genuine terrorism on a daily basis, and then congratulate each other about how moral and how good they are for doing it because something bad that happened in Palestine or something bad that Donald Trump did 3 years ago. This is just simply a response. This is what's going to happen. And so, and I think that that's probably what it's going to take for these left-wing people to realize what a bad idea what they've been doing is. Because until it starts happening to them, until they start having people that are their friends or, their, like icons that they look up to, the same way people looked up to Charlie Kirk, until they start seeing those people get killed, I don't think it's really going to be real for them. And unfortunately, I think that's the path that we're headed down because of the government and social media companies and every other seemingly governmental apparatus that has just completely hand-waved this problem and ignored it entirely. So the death of Charlie Kirk and the assassination of him should not come as a surprise to anyone. This should be something that everybody could have expected. All you had to do is read Twitter for an hour and you could have told me this would have happened, of course. Same with Reddit. And until that core problem is addressed, you will continue to see a rapid decline in any type of social discourse. And I'm actually kind of afraid to see what's going to happen next, because I think it's just going to continue getting worse, and I don't see the reason for it to stop. And so anyway, I wanted to make this video because it's obviously a topic that, I've been talking about this a lot for the past few years now. And I was laughed at a lot, and people were telling me it wasn't that big of a deal. Oh, they were joking. Well, I saw the video. That wasn't a joke. And the reality is that those jokes and everything create a culture and an environment where the actual actions are more permissible. And you also have people that are the ones telling the quote jokes that are talking around directly, saying that this is a bad thing and it shouldn't be tolerated for any reason. You have, I don't want to go through a bunch of different names, but anybody, this is the way I look at it, I'm just going to make a categorical judgment here, is that any content creator or anybody like this who has been advocating for violence against a person in an extrajudicial way, I'm not talking about trying people who they disagree with for treason. This is advocating for the judicial process to be used against people they disagree with. I think that's fine. But whenever you have people that are saying things like 8647, or anybody who's advocating for any form of extrajudicial justice, extrajudicial justice, and basically vigilante justice on people who they disagree with politically, you have to realize that all of those people, I think, have made themselves acceptable targets. And I think that there's a lot and millions of people out there nowadays that see that. And I think that that should be extremely worrying for them. It should be terrifying. But the reality is that they have created that environment themselves through their own actions, through their behavior, and through their own words. You reap what you sow. And I think that things are about to get a whole lot worse. So anyway, guys, I wanted to make this video and talk about it. And that's about all I've got to say. So I hope to be back soon. I'll record videos when I can, here and there, but for the most part, as I said before, my dad has had so many really serious issues going on. I need to devote my full attention to making sure that he's healthy and taken care of, And so as much as I look forward to streaming, this has to take priority. I don't have a time frame. It will probably be a matter of weeks and maybe not even that long until I'm back regularly. And so hopefully that's the case. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks, Zach, for taking some time away from your dad to make a video. I think we're going to call this stream. It's an hour and 40-something minutes. I hope to make this a regular thing. I hope to be more prepared, to have something prepared in advance instead of just flying by the seat of my pants here. But if you manage to tune in at all, thank you. If you catch this on replay, thanks for just stopping by and viewing, even if you don't watch the whole thing. Anyway, thanks, and we'll catch you again next time.